The legends who built the NFL aren't holding back anymore. Tom Brady calls today's players coddled. Lawrence Taylor says he wouldn't even last a single game without getting ejected. And Jerry Rice, the most disciplined receiver ever, flat out calls this generation soft. So what happened to football? The same sport that once demanded blood, grit, and broken bones of glory now feels more like a brand deal playground. For decades, the NFL was a war zone, and these men were its generals. They bled, they broke, and they defined toughness. But in 2025, the rules, the culture, and even the attitude of players have changed so much that the game itself feels unrecognizable to them. From concussion lawsuits to million-dollar sponsorships, from mental health breaks to load management. The sport that once punished weakness now protects it. But is that evolution or extinction? Because if you ask the men who built this league, they'll tell you straight up, the heart of football is fading fast. This is NFL legends expose their issues with today's NFL. And trust me, after hearing what they have to say, you'll never watch the game the same way again. They call it the golden era, a time when the NFL was built on toughness, pain, and pride. When you got hit, you didn't cry about it, you bragged about it. When you lost a tooth, you smiled for the camera. But now, those same warriors who made football what it is are watching a version of the sport they barely recognize. And no one's more outspoken about it than Tom Brady, the man who symbolized perfection, longevity, and an obsession with winning that bordered on psychotic. Brady spent 23 seasons crafting the kind of legacy no one will ever touch. 7 Super Bowl rings, more than 89,000 passing yards. But behind all that, there was an intensity that shaped a generation of quarterbacks. His entire existence was built on one rule: earn everything. So when Brady looks at today's NFL, he doesn't see that fire anymore. He sees comfort. He sees fame before work. He sees players building clothing brands before they've even mastered their playbooks. In his appearance on Kevin Hart's Coldest Balls podcast, Brady didn't sugarcoat it. Everybody's coddled a little bit more now, he said, a polite way of saying the league's gone soft. The NFL, in his view, has become more about load management than legacy. Everyone talks about balance and wellness. But for Brady, football was never supposed to be balanced. It was supposed to hurt. That pain was what separated legends from the rest. He still remembers the early 2000s when Bill Belichick demanded perfection down to the last detail. No excuses, no mental health days, no personal time. You messed up in practice. You got humiliated in front of the team. That was normal. That was football. But 2025's NFL isn't built on humiliation. It's built on protection, from critics, from hits, from themselves. The same league that once produced gladiators now produces brand ambassadors. The irony? Brady himself benefited from rule changes after his 2008 ACL injury. The famous Brady rule that stopped defenders from lunging at a quarterback's knees. That rule may have extended his career by a decade, but even Brady admits it came with a price. There's a fine line between protection and softness, he said more than once. The modern quarterback, wrapped in layers of safety regulations, can't be touched, and yet somehow still can't stand the pressure. It's not just Brady. The criticism runs deep through generations. Marshall Faulk, one of the greatest dual-threat running backs ever, remembers when defense was an art form, violent, yes, but beautiful in its precision. Today, he says, defenders are forced to play like they're avoiding lawsuits instead of making tackles. I don't even know how you're supposed to play defense anymore, he told 106.7 The Fan. He's not exaggerating. One mistimed hit, one shoulder pad in the wrong spot, and you're looking at a 5-figure fine. In Faulk's day, that same hit would have been on a highlight reel. That's what he misses, the raw honesty of football, when both sides play to destroy each other, and whoever stood last was the winner. Now, he says, the middle of the field looks like a red carpet walkway. Receivers glide through untouched, running backs barely take real hits, and defenders, the guys who make the game brutal and beautiful, are afraid to breathe too hard. He points to the new culture of interpretive officiating, where a simple tap on a quarterback's helmet draws a flag, while a receiver ducking into a tackle still gets defenders penalized. They've taken accountability out of the game. Faulk says, offensive coordinators put players in bad positions, and defenders get blamed for doing their jobs. It's not just complaining. It's a shift in philosophy. The league that once rewarded aggression now punishes it. And that punishment has consequences. The average team is scoring nearly 23 points per game. Great for fantasy leagues, but not for the purity of football. Defensive legends watch modern games with a mix of confusion and heartbreak. Everything that once made football unpredictable, the hits, the risks, the chaos, is being sterilized for TV ratings. Lawrence Taylor, the man who redefined the linebacker position, says he wouldn't survive a single game under these rules. This isn't just any player talking. This is LT, the two-time Super Bowl champ, the 1986 MVP, the nightmare of every quarterback in the 80s. On the Let's Go podcast with Brady and Jim Gray, he laughed when asked how he'd handle today's game. "I'd probably get ejected before halftime," he said. He wasn't joking. The same ferocity that made him a legend would now make him unemployable. "If I was playing nowadays, I wouldn't last a game." That line hit like a punch across generations. Taylor's career was built on intimidation, sacks, destruction, controlled chaos. In today's NFL, chaos isn't allowed. You hit too hard, you pay. You celebrate too loud, you pay. You play too rough, you get fined or suspended. The league wants clean violence, sanitized aggression, emotion on a timer. Taylor remembers when pain was part of the paycheck. You'd hit someone and they'd respect you for it. Now, they post about it. Taylor can't wrap his head around it. Running backs fined for trucking defenders. Receiver protected like collectibles. He laughs at the absurdity. They're penalizing guys for doing what we used to call football. But the truth is, the game had to change. And that's where the conflict lies. Because for every legend missing the old brutality, there's another legend who's paying for it with his health. That's where Harry Carson enters the story, and his take is nothing short of haunting. The Hall of Fame linebacker, who spent 13 seasons punishing offenses, now says he wouldn't let his own grandchildren play football. 8, 10, 12? No, they would not, he said on PBS Frontline. That statement stunned fans across the country. A Hall of Famer telling parents to keep their kids away from the sport that made him famous? It wasn't bitterness. It was trauma. Carson knows what happens to the man behind those helmets. He's seen teammates lose their memory, their sanity, even their lives. The NFL knew, he told the Daily News back in 2016. They knew about this for decades. He was talking about CTE, the brain disease that has taken countless former players long after their final snap. Carson's story isn't abstract. He's banned his own grandson from football. Imagine that. A man who built his identity on the game, turning around and declaring it too dangerous for his bloodline. He doesn't watch it the same way anymore. Every helmet clash, every slow-to-get-up moment on the field looks like a countdown to tragedy. The science backs him up. Dr. McKee's research found signs of CTE in 19 out of 20 NFL players examined. 19 out of 20. Carson testified before Congress, pleaded with the league to acknowledge what already knew, and helped found the Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund to support broken men the league left behind. For him, the issue isn't softness, it's survival. And that's the great contradiction of modern football. To protect players, the league had to strip away what made it dangerous. But in doing so, it stripped away what made it legendary. You can't separate risk from glory. You can't sterilize violence and still call it the same sport. The game isn't soft because players are weaker. It's soft because the rules force them to be. As the old guard watches from the sidelines, they see a lead torn between safety and soul. Tom Brady looks at quarterbacks who can't be touched but crumble under pressure. Marshall Faulk sees defenders punished for playing defense. Lawrence Taylor watches hits turn into fines. And Harry Carson sees ghosts in every tackle. This isn't just nostalgia, it's a reckoning. Football's gods are telling the truth about the world they created and the one that replaced it. The same game that gave them fame, money, and immortality also gave them broken bones, scarred brains, and sleepless nights. The modern players may be softer, or maybe they're just smarter. But one thing for sure, the legends aren't ready to let go without saying what needs to be said. Because the NFL's past isn't buried. It's screaming from the sidelines, begging the league not to forget what real football looked like before it became a business. And the next legend to speak isn't afraid to name names. The next voice in this growing storm comes from a man who's seen the price of loyalty, pain, and pills all collide in one brutal lifetime. Kyle Turley. His story isn't about nostalgia. It's about survival. A mountain of man who once anchored the same defensive line. Turley says the NFL didn't just break his body, it broke his mind. For him, the softness of today's league isn't a curse. It's a necessary evolution, because he lived through the era that killed players in silence. Turley's career ended in 2006. By then, he says he had suffered over 100 concussions, none of them officially recorded. The NFL handed out pills like candy. He said in a 2023 interview, they'd tape you up, drug you up, and send you back in. What followed was a decade of chaos, addiction, suicidal thoughts, and memory loss so severe he couldn't remember parts of his own career. I was numb physically and emotionally, he told Sports Illustrated. His voice cracks when he describes the dark days when football glory meant nothing, because he couldn't remember who he was supposed to be proud of. And yet, the league moved on. The same institutions that celebrated his toughness ignored his pain. That's what makes Turley's transformation remarkable, because instead of staying bitter, he turned his agony into activism. Today, he's one of the loudest advocates for cannabis reform in sports. Cannabis saved me from Big Pharma's trap, he told Forbes. He claimed CBD helped him escape prescription addiction and regain mental clarity. The NFL talks about safety, he said, but they're still slamming heads 70 times a game. They protect quarterbacks, not the trenches. His words cut deep, especially coming from a lineman. The invisible soldier of football. The trenches are where wars are fought, where players sacrifice their bodies so others can shine. Turley's critique isn't anti-football, it's anti-hypocrisy. He loves the game but despises a system that chews up men and spits them out when the highlight reels fade. If we're going to talk about safety, he said, then stop pretending. Either make it safe for everyone or stop calling it safe at all. While Turley's story exposes the system's darker side, Nate Burleson shows what happens when the lights go out. The former wide receiver, known for his charisma and sharp TV personality today, once played through an era that demanded both performance and pain tolerance. But what broke him wasn't the hits, it was the silence after retirement. In a Raw interview, Burleson admitted he didn't realize how much football defined him until it was gone. When I left the game, he said, it felt like she broke up with me. He compared football to a woman, the kind that loves you fiercely, then leaves without explanation. One moment, you're catching passes on the stadium lights. The next, you're sitting on your couch watching your own highlights, wondering if any of it mattered. He described texting old coaches, trying to get back in, only to be politely told they'd moved on. That's when I knew she'd found someone else, he said quietly. That heartbreak, Burleson says, is universal among retired players. It's not about fame or money. It's about identity. Football teaches you to live like a soldier. Every week is a battle. Every season is a war. Then suddenly, the war ends, and no one tells you how to live in peace. Burleson believes modern players are even more vulnerable to that emotional crash because their careers are shorter and their fame fades faster. Now everything's about the brand, he said. When the brand's gone, who are you? But Burleson also criticizes how sanitized the game's become. He misses the danger, the adrenaline. When I played, you knew if you ran across the middle, someone was coming for your soul. That fear created respect. It made every catch feel earned. Today's game, he says, feels like highlight choreography, safe, controlled, and forgettable. The game that once tested your courage now tests your ability to trend. And that theme, the loss of earned glory, echoes through the next voice, Jerry Rice. When Rice speaks, the world listens. The NFL's all-time leader in touchdowns and receiving yards has nothing to prove, yet everything to say. He doesn't yell, doesn't dramatize, but every word cuts through generations like a blade. Players today, he said on CBS Sports, play like they're entitled to greatness. Rice spent 2 decades chasing perfection. He missed just 10 games in 20 seasons. He'd run miles after practice, not because someone told him to, but because that's what legends did. Durability is key, he said. No one breaks 2,000 yards now because no one runs for miles after practice. For him, today's NFL isn't about toughness. It's about shortcuts. He's not impressed by the numbers, the money, or the media. He wants the grit back, the cold mornings, the exhaustion, the obsession. In my day, he said, you earned every yard. But Rice's criticism isn't bitterness, it's heartbreak. He's proud of the game, but when he watches modern players taking selfies after routine catches, he feels like he's watching a reality show, not a sport. Receivers have more chances to score, he said, but it feels scripted. He's right. The rule changes make it nearly impossible to touch a receiver now. What was once a war between offense and defense is now a commercial break waiting to happen. In one viral moment, Rice even called out Deebo Samuel, saying, "No excuses. Focus on the ball, not the spotlight." Fans were divided. Some said he was being harsh. Others said it was a truth no one else would say out loud. Rice doesn't hate today's players. He just doesn't recognize them. They're faster, stronger, richer, but not tougher. Kids today, he said, aren't conditioned like we were. From the outside, it sounds like old men yelling at clouds. But if you listen closely, it's not arrogance, it's grief. These legends aren't mocking the new generation. They're mourning the old one. They're watching the house they built being remodeled into something shinier, safer, and soulless. Dominic Raiola, a former Detroit Lions center, puts it perfectly. Football's turning into a bureaucratic game. He played 14 seasons in the trenches, 14 years of cracked ribs, sprained necks, and bleeding elbows. He says modern players have to think before they hit, and that kills the instinct. You can't think and hit at the same time, he said. That hesitation ruins everything. He remembers when aggression was art, when a lineman's power was respected, not penalized. Now, he says, players live in fear fines for excessive contact. Excessive, he laughs. It's football. Contact is a point. The league's obsession with protecting itself from lawsuits has, in his eyes, stripped the game of its soul. We went from warriors to workers, he said. You finish a block too hard, they fine you. You pull up too soft, you lose the play. That's the paradox haunting every generation. You can't protect football without changing it, and you can't change it without losing something sacred. The modern league is safer, cleaner, and more marketable than ever before. But is it better? For the fans who grew up watching Lawrence Taylor hunt quarterbacks or Jerry Rice sprint through secondaries, the answer feels obvious. For the league, it's complicated. The NFL sells emotion, and right now, safety sells. Still, as the old voices grow louder, a new tension builds. Because if these legends sound angry, it's not just because the game has changed. It's because they fear what's coming next. A future where no one remembers what it used to feel like to get hit and stand up anyway. A future where the NFL's heartbeats are measured in sponsorships, not scars. And that's when another voice, one both respected and feared, steps in. A man who's both a product of the old school and a coach of the new. A legend who refuses to play by the NFL's new rules, even from the sidelines. His name is Deion Sanders, and his message to today's players will shake everything. Deion Sanders doesn't sugarcoat anything. He's been calling out the NFL for years. Not because he hates it, but because he still loves it too much to watch it fall apart. He's the bridge between generations. A man who dominated on the field in the 90s, then reinvented himself as a college coach shaping tomorrow's stars. And when he talked about today's NFL, the same intensity that once electrified stadiums comes roaring back. I have a problem with men getting their checks and not doing their jobs. He said bluntly, I'd be too tough to coach in the NFL because I still have those old school attributes. It's a statement that perfectly summarizes what every legend before him has been hinting at. The soul of football is being traded for comfort. Sanders looks at the modern league and doesn't see hunger. He sees entitlement. They get rich before they even prove themselves, he said on New Heights. That changes everything. When players are millionaires before their first snap, motivation becomes optional. For Sanders, accountability is everything, and the NFL has lost it. He points to a system that doesn't teach anymore. The league won't develop you, he says. They expect you to show up already great. That single line reveals the quiet rot underneath professional football. a machine so obsessed with the product that it's forgotten the process. Rookies are expected to arrive flawless. Veterans are expected to survive on instinct. And coaches, under pressure to win, rarely have the time or will to mentor. In college, Deion says, I teach men to become pros. In the NFL, they expect pros to already be men. It's not just words, it's personal. His sons, Shadur and Shiloh Sanders, now play for Cleveland Browns, carrying the family name into the same league their father refuses to coach in. When critics accuse his sons of arrogance, Deion didn't back down. Laughable, he said. Just say you don't like me. Behind the swagger, there's a father desperate to preserve what the NFL used to represent. Respect earned, not given. Good one, son, he told Shadur after an interview that silenced doubters. You did that. Pride and pain share space in that sentence. He's proud his boys are thriving, but he's haunted by the thought that they're entering a league he barely recognizes. For Deion, the NFL's biggest problem isn't money or fame. It's that players have forgotten the price of greatness. I just have no desire to coach rich men, he said. I'd rather impact young men who need it. That's why he stays at Colorado, why he builds programs around discipline and faith instead of contracts and bonuses. His staff has over 200 years of combined NFL experience. He wants to prepare his players for a world that won't hold their hand. Give your all, he tells them, because the league won't teach you, won't protect you, and won't care once you're gone. That line feels like a funeral prayer for the sport itself, because after everything the legends have said, from Brady's frustration to Carson's grief, one truth rises above all. Football isn't dying, but it's changing so fast its creators barely recognize it. Every Sunday, stadiums still roar. The touchdowns still come. The jerseys still sell. But somewhere under the lights, the fear that once made football sacred, the fear of failure, of pain, of being broken and still standing, is gone. Players play smart, but not desperate. Coaches manage risk, not legends. The fire that once burned behind every snap now flickers behind sponsorship deals and analytics. And maybe that's the point. The NFL is no longer a battlefield. It's a business. It's no longer about survival. It's about sustainability. The league sells safety now, the illusion that you can still have war without casualties. The irony? It's working. Ratings are high, profits are record-breaking, and global expansion is thriving. But listen closely, and you'll hear the ghosts of the gridiron whispering. They're not jealous, they're warning. They warn that the same comfort protecting players might also destroy their passion. They warn that once a game loses fear, it loses respect. You can pat a player's helmet, but not his heart. You can protect his head, but not his hunger. Tom Brady says everyone's coddled. Marshall Faulk says defense is extinct. Lawrence Taylor says he'd be ejected before halftime. Harry Carson says he wouldn't let his grandson play. Kyle Turley says the system kills slowly. Jerry Rice says nobody earns it anymore. Deion Sanders says rich men can't be coached. They're all right, in their own ways, because football isn't just a sport, it's a mirror. The way the NFL has softened reflects the way the world has changed. We protect everything now. Feelings, reputations, comfort zones. And somewhere in that protection, we've lost a hunger that built greatness. The NFL didn't just change its rules. It changed its culture. It stopped asking men to be warriors and started training them to be brands. Maybe that's why the old guard sounds angry, because they come from a world where legacy was worth more than a contract. They remember when the locker room smelled like blood and turf, not endorsement spray. When rivalries meant grudges, not hashtags. When playing through pain wasn't foolish. It was heroic. They're not asking for broken bones. They're asking for broken limits. Still, even in their frustration, there's something beautiful about their honesty. They're not bitter of the next generation. They just want them to understand the cost. Brady's perfection, Rice's obsession, Taylor's fury, none of it came easy. They didn't just play football, they lived it, bled it, and paid for it. The modern player doesn't need to suffer like they did, but they do need to care like they did. That's the difference between being famous and being unforgettable. In the end, maybe Deion Sanders is right. Maybe the NFL doesn't teach anymore, but that doesn't mean the lessons are gone. They live in every story these legends tell, in every scar that still throbs when it rains, in every warning passed down to a new generation that thinks greatness is easy. Because football will always evolve, but legends never do. They stay frozen in the moments that define them. Brady's final drive, Rice's perfect route, Taylor's monstrous sack, Carson's silent tears, Turley's redemption, Sanders' faith. These aren't just highlights. They're reminders of what the game once demanded and what it still could if anyone's willing to fight for it again. As the cameras fade and the crowd roars echo into silence, you realize this isn't just about football anymore. It's about every generation that built something raw and real, only to watch it get polished into perfection. Maybe the modern NFL is safer, cleaner, and smarter, but legends don't care about clean. They care about meaning. And for them, the game they loved didn't need protection. It needed passion. So when Deion Sanders says he'd rather coach young men than rich men, it's not shade. It's salvation. He's trying to save what's left of football's soul before it disappears behind another commercial break. Because when the dust settles and the stadium lights finally go dark, only one question will matter. Did the NFL get safer, or did it lose what made it worth saving? Maybe the game didn't change overnight. Maybe it just grew up, or maybe it sold out. The truth is somewhere between the bruises and the balance sheets. The NFL is still the dream factory, still the biggest stage in American sports. But ask the legends, and they'll tell you the truth that doesn't trend. The hits aren't harder, the checks are. Tom Brady's frustration, Jerry Rice's disappointment, Deion Sanders' refusal. They all echo the same truth. Greatness used to cost everything. Now it comes with a warranty. The rules, the sponsorships, the safety, they build a shield around the game, but that shield also blocks its soul. Fans still cheer, stadiums still shake, and the jerseys still sell. But deep down, something's missing. It's not the violence. It's the vulnerability, the willingness to risk it all just to be remembered. Because legends weren't born from comfort. They were carved out of chaos. So maybe it's time to ask, can the modern NFL create legends or just influencers? Can passion survive in a sport that's now afraid of pain? And when the next generation looks back, will they see icons or just statistics? The answers might hurt, but that's what football always was, beautiful pain wrapped in glory. The question now is, who's still brave enough to feel it? Because the hits may be lighter, the helmets may be safer, but the truth still hurts the same. And this time, the blow isn't physical, it's cultural. This story isn't ending, it's just beginning.